Good afternoon. My name is Ella Moroney, and I am an undergraduate student hailing from the International College of Management in Sydney, Australia. The research I am presenting today is a collaborative effort aided by Program Manager Dr. Jaewon Kang and lecturer Kristen Beck. Throughout my studies, I have grappled with the complex relationship between sport and society. Many react with scorn when I suggest that sport is a transformative element in social progression. After all, how can a game of football change the world? It is in the art world that a similar narrative is spun, with critics picking apart the importance and impact of each piece as it is presented. The creative and athletic industries have long been misunderstood and categorized as menial distractions from reality. The bread and circuses metaphor permeates any discussion of the socio-cultural relevance of either discipline and disregards the well-documented examples of human development as a result of the cultivation of art and sport. A multidisciplinary study of the relationship between sport and art reveals the practices as reactionary and adaptive to cultural shifts on a global scale, offering a reflection of social conditions at any given point in time when viewed through a historical lens. I will be applying a research methodology that I developed early on in the developmental stages, called CIMI, standing for Context, Intent, Materials, Method, and Influence. Cave paintings are the earliest documented form of artwork in human history and serve as a timestamp of the evolution of creativity and empathy in the Homo sapiens species. Depictions of hunting practices provide insight into sporting behaviors and the collaborative teamwork necessary for the survival of early humanity. The Indonesian island of Sulawesi hosts the oldest known preservation of cave art and a resounding example of the evolution of storytelling and community in Homo sapiens. Utilizing uranium-thorium dating, researchers have estimated the age of secondary mineral deposits within the cave to be almost 50,000 years old. The ability to recall events and create impressionistic renderings of them is highly suggestive of the complex sociological patterns of prehistoric humans, previously thought to be simple survival tactics like that of the Neanderthal. The use of red ochre, ground to fine powder and mixed with water to create a paint-like mixture, is a testament to the creative spirit of Homo sapiens, setting them apart as a species from other prehistoric primates. The Sulawesi artwork depicts a scene of stick-figure Homo sapiens performing a ritualistic hunt of dwarf buffaloes. The figures are surrounding the creatures with spears and what appear to be ropes, paralleling the archaeological records of early weaponry. Perhaps most significantly, the stick figures have animalistic attributes, with many boasting beaks and tails upon their otherwise human form. There are many interpretations as to the reasoning behind such features, with the most accepted being that hunters would don the skins of previous kills when engaging in hunts, skewing the event as a sport-like practice of teamwork and precision, rather than the more vicious and primitive kills of the closely related species such as the Neanderthal. The delicate brushstrokes speak to a care of detail by the prehistoric artist, and the determination to capture the hunt reaffirms the ritualistic importance of the event in early communities. The Sulawesi cave paintings reveal many truths about the evolution of humanity through both sport and art, and solidify the integral aspects of both disciplines in the role of social development. The depiction of sport through artwork in early civilization was one of great marvel and admiration. The human form was revered, forever immortalized in great statues carved painstakingly in marble and bronze that has withstanded the test of time. Discobolus, or the discus thrower, as it is commonly known, is a testament to the worship of human anatomy by Greek society and a telltale indicator of the shift from recreational sport to professionality. Painstakingly carved in 450 BCE by sculptor Myron, Discobolus offers a deeper understanding of the religious reverence of sport and the founding belief that athletic achievement was necessary in order to show gratitude to the gods responsible for humanity's success. In Myron's era of art, which is known as the period of transition, Greece was prospering. The country was in a period of abundance and as such devoted much time and effort towards the development of culture and personhood. Athletics became a means of both physical training, demonstrations of strength to potential enemies, and entertainment to important figures. The Greeks believed that it was humanity's duty to be of excellence through both physical performance and virtuous mentality. A combination of religious and philosophical practices found a well-balanced society full of serene and fulfilled individuals. It was a common belief that Greece was unique in their athleticism due to their perfect balance of mental and physical clarity, and indeed the early Olympics allowed only Greek citizens to compete as they were deemed to be the highest performers. The many sculptures carved into the walls and surrounds of such arenas are indicative of this notion, with exaggerated muscularity and stoic expressions painting the Greek athletes as almost inhuman. The towering Discobolus renders a hyper-realistic image of an athlete, muscles poised and tight as he prepares to release the discus in his grip. It was originally sculpted in bronze, the material's reflective properties further highlighting the intricate imitations of bone and muscle and anatomical structure. The very act of crafting the sculpture is one of great labor, mimicking the exertion of the athlete it depicts. It is a formidable image, one of great power and strength. While the stance, muscle groupings, and positioning of Discobolus are of great anatomical accuracy, the positioning of the athlete's head is not one that a professional discus thrower would assume. The athlete's face is turned in towards his body, in what is perceived to be an act of leisure, reflected by the calm, relaxed expression he wears. The depiction of ease contributes to the prevailing message of Greek artwork, that the Greek people performed feats of unbelievable athleticism as if it were their birthright. Myron's Discobolus illuminates the shift from athleticism as a means of necessity to one of intent and enjoyment. The relationship between sport and art has cultivated scientific progress and innovation as multidisciplinary studies between the fields are conducted. Modern understandings of anatomy and biomechanics are possible only through the lens of historic art, such as photography and impressionist paintings. Edward Muybridge's series of photographs titled Athlete Running in the collection Animal Locomotion revolutionized photography and scientists' understanding of biomechanics by providing still images of movement that could be analyzed in great detail. Muybridge was commissioned in 1872 by a man named Leland Stanford, who was seeking to settle a bet in which a racehorse owner wagered that a trotting horse would have all four legs off the ground for a moment in time that the human eye could not witness. Muybridge utilized 12 cameras, all positioned and timed perfectly in order to freeze frame an entire movement across the lenses. Alongside professors, athletes, patients from a local facility, and animals from the Philadelphia Zoo, Muybridge captured several instances of motion and curated a portfolio of the revolutionary images. Prior to Muybridge's creation of the 12-camera setup, photography of sport was incredibly limited, and the images were blurry and undefined. Analysis of the human movement had to occur in person and only through what the human eye could see in real-time speeds. Athlete running provided a depth of insight into the launch positioning of sprinters and the activation of muscle groupings throughout the body as motion occurred. The athlete's every move is documented in the 12 pristine images, with markers on the ground to show his progress throughout the stills. Scientists were able to study the positioning of the athlete's head relative to his stride, offering tremendous insight into the effect of momentum on the human body, which would later serve as a basis for the training of professional runners. Muybridge's fusion of photography and sport led to groundbreaking discoveries in both fields, driving progress and scientific innovation that shaped the formation of modern society. Modern artworks often paralleled sport in themes of social leverage and political alignment. Tapping into the passion and dedication of sporting enthusiasts and fusing such notions with emotional evocation through art allowed politicians to motivate the masses and incite action on the controlling government's behalf. Olympia is a short documentary filmed by German dancer and talented filmmaker Leni Riefenstahl. During the 1936 Berlin Olympics, the documentary was split into two parts, the Festival of Nations and the Festival of Beauty. Riefenstahl was selected to document the Olympics, paying particular attention to the physical successes and domination of German athletes, by none other than Führer Adolf Hitler, who attended the event and oversaw the film's production. Riefenstahl attracted the attention of the National Socialist Party, hereby referred to as the Nazi Party, due to her production of Triumph of the Will, a propaganda film highlighting the Nazi Party's Nuremberg rallies. Hitler was framed as the savior of Germany, and despite her later protestation, Riefenstahl held a close personal relationship with the dictator, which heavily influenced her craft. Olympia was a groundbreaking film in many ways. It featured rare and difficult to achieve attributes such as background music, composed by Herbert Wint, and rapidly shifting perspectives. The noir images carefully glide through the Olympic events, focusing on moments of exhilarating athletic achievement and synchronicity. Notably, the film opens on a shot of the aforementioned statue Discobolus. It is an aesthetics-driven film, with abstract shots filmed in reverse to further captivate audiences and frame the athlete's movements as beyond human capabilities. Interspersed between the alarmingly uniform and precise athletes are close-up shots of Hitler, standing above the calamity, clapping politely as the Germans below perform in his orchestrated display of Aryan athleticism. Olympia reveals a dark truth about sport that many throughout history have chosen to ignore. The integral elements of competition and the continual pushing of the boundaries of physical ability can, and often have, led to eugenics and the systemic oppression of those deemed to be lesser beings. Hitler cultivated a society hyper-focused on becoming the superior race through athleticism, mandating engagement in sport from a young age and declaring that, and I quote, "the weak must be hammered away." Boxing and combat sports became compulsory, with team sports such as soccer reimagined to centralize violent elements and military drills in a cruel approximation of teamwork. The idolization of physical performance is paramount throughout Nazi Germany history, and as such echoes through Olympia. The film enabled Hitler's abhorrent Aryan ideologies and reinforced public backing of a strong, unified Germany that committed atrocities beyond the West imagination. Contemporary artworks are defined by unconventional materials and methods, the shifting paradigms of artistry reflecting rapid societal changes that are paralleled in the progression and diversity of the sporting landscape. Through art, protest against unfair or discriminatory sporting practices is possible. Leather Boys is a series of sculptures created by artist Luca Inargis, shedding a light on the historical ties between professional and recreational motorcycling and queer culture. It is also the artwork that inspired the entirety of this research presentation and sparked my immense passion for the synthesis of art and sporting practices. Professional motorcycle racing began a slow formation in the 20th century, taking on a rapid growth shortly after the end of World War I as the popularization of two-wheeled motorcycles occurred. The Federation of American Motorcyclists formed in 1903, with a parallel in Europe under the name FIM forming shortly after 1904. International Grand Prix racing was officially recognized in a post-war America from 1921 onwards. It wasn't until the end of World War II in 1945 that MotoGP and other international motorcycling categories skyrocketed to immense success and the cult following that they boast today, however, and much of that surge in viewership can be attributed to an innate desire to mend international relationships and distance society from the too fresh memories of a horrific period of history. Motorcycling has often fused art with sporting prowess, with MotoGP bike liveries, helmets, and race suits donning intricate designs that showcase the rider's individuality and sponsorship commitments. It is a common practice to customize such effects to incorporate cultural elements from each Grand Prix host country. Similarly, Leather Boys utilizes race suit designs to provide a commentary on the historical ties between motorcycling and queer culture. In early competitions, race suits, boots, and jackets were often made from repurposed military uniforms, as returning soldiers discarded their uniforms in second-hand stores, leading to a surplus of durable leather. Outside of professional competition, recreational motorcycling gangs also began to repurpose the textile, with patented leather jackets and vests becoming a symbol of fringe groups and rebellion. The symbolic act of severing leather's association with the clean-cut military image and instead utilizing it as a protective layer against the dangers associated with an often reckless sport embodied the fracture felt in society as they attempted to return to a sense of normalcy after decades of conflict and destruction. Where a military jacket once represented the American dream of a white picket fence and nuclear family, a motorcycle jacket represented an overhaul of authority and an intense desire for the freedom and exhilaration of high-speed racing. Motorcycle racing appealed to ex-veterans for that very reason. The open road and roaring engines, often the only thing able to drown out the trauma buried just below the surface of their minds. Clubs and associations attracted a blend of individuals from the forgotten shadows, ranging from the aforementioned war vets to a more criminal element, leading to scorn and rejection from a still healing society focused on purity and good-natured people. Amongst those outcasted from society, the queer community often found refuge in fringe motorcycling groups, as they were less likely to be ostracized by those who had similar experiences of discrimination. This unification deeply influenced queer fashion, with the use of leather explored in kinkwear and mobilized as a symbol of sexuality in the public eye. In the early 50s, leather had transcended its traditional masculine image and became synonymous with LGBT pride, as leather bars, such as the Oedipus Motorcycle Club, began to surface. These bars served as both motorcycling clubs and queer communal spaces, often filled by veterans who had received blue discharges from the army due to their sexuality and were searching for a sense of purpose in a post-war world. Motorcycling leathers continued throughout history to serve as a symbol of queer resistance, with many historic pride protests featuring leather-clad bikers at the forefront of change. Despite the mutualistic relationship between queer communities and motorcycling, the professional sport has harbored a harsh, traditionally masculine image that actively diminishes and alienates LGBT-identifying athletes. In its outstanding history, MotoGP has never had an openly gay athlete competing, with many critics pointing towards the sport's primarily Italian heritage and subsequent Catholic presence as a possible reason for the lack of diversity. Aiding this air of exclusion, MotoGP Grand Prix have historically occurred in countries where homosexuality is a criminal offense, making it incredibly dangerous for gay riders to identify themselves. Leather Boys celebrates the progress made by queer and motorcycling communities in fighting for equality and a place in society, while acknowledging the deficit of diversity and acceptance at the professional level of racing and calling for change. The sculpture evoked angst and longing, with the lovers' entangled limbs and hidden faces suggesting an intrusion upon an intimate moment. The helmets and leather suits serve as a means for both protection and anonymity, allowing audiences to imagine the faces of motorcycling legends throughout history under the visors, and challenge the long-standing image of hypermasculinity the sport has cultivated. In place of sponsor logos, the Leather Boys are coded in homophobic slurs, reflecting the vitriol and abuse suffered by riders in the public eye. Leather Boys is a prime demonstration of the intricate relationship between art and sport, and the importance of leveraging such avenues for social progress. The relationship between sport and art is one of undeniable impact. Social progression, human development, and technological advancements that shaped modern life would not have been possible without the painstaking efforts of artists and athletes alike. With further research and practical implications, a multidisciplinary collaboration in sport and art education that furthers future generations' understandings of humanity through the eyes of creative and athletic endeavors is possible. Time will continue to pass, and sport will continue to evolve as we do. It is of utmost importance that artistic practices are cultivated and encouraged within the sporting world as a form of not only documentation, but innovation as we chase greatness. Thank you. And if you are interested in further discussions regarding this research, please don't hesitate to reach out via my communication channels outlined below.